What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward, talk about data that's coming out, what you should be watching for in the charts moving forward. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice, and don't forget to smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, for Tesla, we got this little counter trend rally like move after Jerome Powell gave his speech on Friday to this resistance very close to 221. We came very close to my target so far. Now Tesla's showing some signs of tough resistance, so make sure you watch this level carefully. I'm going to break down what I see Tesla basically doing from here and some levels to watch for. But first, let's talk about some data that's coming out. Just notes that for today, it's Monday, August 26th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. Then at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. So make sure you watch these very, very carefully, especially at 10:30 a.m. Look for some volatility. Besides that, there is some news coming out about the whole situation involving Israel and Iran. I just want to note that we're still waiting to see what the next step is for now. The violence has happened. There is still potential for more, of course, and that is very unfortunate. There are talks about, some ceasefires. There's negotiations going on as I speak. So we're going to be waiting to see how that goes. Keep in mind that the conflicts between them are very, very recent. So, sometimes may take a couple of days for us to get another update. So be patient, but just know that violence is still possible. Continuations could still happen. So be prepared for anything. And we'll see what news comes out about any potential ceasefire or anything else like that. So far, I'm not saying it. So we just have to be patient, give that some time. But despite that news coming out, the market's not getting too affected by it quite yet. For earnings, as a reminder, we have semiconductors on Wednesday, like Nvda. That's going to be the biggest one. Until then, everything else is quite minor. Now, for more news about the markets, don't forget Jerome Powell gave a speech on Friday, and his words are still affecting the markets. That's why we're still trying to push a little bit right now. He did imply that a rate cut is very, very probable. So the market is still kind of moving on momentum. There's still some momentum from Friday. Now, with other things going on, I didn't see anything else that was too crazy going on, at least in terms of news besides that. So it's a little bit clearer for now. As far as Tesla goes, there's some headlines coming out where they're talking about the Model X, some difficulties it had. I already went over that news a couple of days ago. I'm still seeing a couple of headlines about that. There was a recall for the Model X, but it's only about 9,000 units, and Tesla will do what it can to improve its roof. It's nothing that's like insane. It's not like there's over 10,000 or anything like that. But that was old news, guys. That came out like 4 or 5 days ago. I'm still seeing a couple of headlines mentioning it, so I just wanted to call that out. But it's pretty old. What I am seeing in the news right now is some talk about Optimus. There was a very, very important humanoid competition in Beijing, China. So you guys can see there's a lot of these humanoid robots. We saw about 27 of them at the World Robot Conference, and that's important because there's a lot of competition with this, and this is going to be a massive business. So we are going to see a lot of competitors coming out, especially in China. So we'll see how it goes, and I just want to give that at least some give at least some recognition to the different competitors out there, and just note that it's going to make things very interesting for the future. As far as the news goes, I'm still seeing headlines about BMW, a lot of headlines. BMW did overtake Tesla's sales for just 1 month in Europe in the month of July, but it's not anything too crazy or too significant because overall, if you look at their sales, Tesla sold over 4 times more EVs than BMW from the first half of 2024. So that's that in terms of EVs. I mean, in terms of EVs, BMW obviously gets more sales overall, but Tesla got more EV sales, 4 times more. So I'm just talking about those. BMW did sell more EVs for the month of July. It was just 1 month as Tesla sales have declined just a bit in Europe. But hopefully we could offset that with Chinese and US sales beginning to increase, especially with the Fed cutting soon. That's going to benefit Tesla as well, at least from the more like, medium to long term. So just want to call that out. Anyways, that's it for what I'm seeing, at least on news. Now let's just focus on what I see for Tesla. So one thing worth mentioning on Tesla is the fact that we have these trend lines to watch for as our resistance areas. Right now, we have resistance at this 220 area, followed by the 222 zone. That's where this yellow trend line happens to be. We got to break this in order for us to turn back to bullish and start pushing for 225 plus. If we don't get back above 222, I'm looking at this 220 zone followed by this next support, which is where we have this big trend line right over here. Now, this white trend line, notice that was holding Tesla up for quite some time. We bounced off this one, two, three, almost four times. So we're going to be looking to see how well Tesla tries to hold around this 217 area. If that does not hold us, we're going back down to 215 and eventually 212. So, in my opinion, I think that Tesla has some very, very tough resistance. It could attempt to go a little higher, and I think we're going to see some consolidation. So, it may attempt to push and just consolidate in this range for some time, but there is a risk of this resistance kind of slowing it down just a little bit. So, just be very, very mindful of that. We could see Tesla dip just a bit and start to consolidate. That's what I see as a very, very strong possibility. We got to break past 222 to turn back up to get to 225 and 228. Otherwise, there's going to be a little bit of a dip and some consolidation coming for us to really start dipping up to lose like 215. So we'll see how things go. So be very patient with that. For SPY is looking more bullish. We are trying to break out a lot higher right now. So as of right now, the chart remains bullish. But I do want to give you guys a warning that at this 563 level, look at the next zone of resistance at 564 and then 565. Those are going to be different levels to watch for. Why am I calling out every dollar? Because that's what happens to SPY when we hit the all-time highs. It gets tougher at every level. So make sure you look at this tough resistance at 563, not to mention 565, the higher we go, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. If you reject, look at 562 as our support, followed by 560 and then 558. This chart looks like it's going to be fighting for 563. We'll see if that holds up. It breaks that. We're going to be looking for the all-time high, which I think SPY might reach. And then we'll see what the reaction is from there. Do we break all-time highs to continue or not? So that's why you want to watch resistance carefully. I think we might push higher, and then we'll see what the reaction is. So that's going to be very important. As far as Nvidia goes, we pushed up to this 130 area only to see some tough resistance again. So we'll see if Nvidia could break 130 to 132. If we break these highs right here, we could be looking for basically 135. If we don't break the highs, we get a rejection, we could be dipping back down towards 126. So I'll be watching to see what the reaction is. Do we hold above 130 and 132, or do we get a rejection? So far, we're just shuffling at this 130 area, and there's a risk of it dipping a little bit. But we're going to have to watch this resistance just to be safe. For Bitcoin, we pushed, forming a double top. We hit 65,000. That was my target, only to come back down. So look at 63,400 as support. If we lose that, we could be dipping to 62,000. If we hold this, we could try to rebound. So I'll be watching to see what the move happens to be. For other tickers out there, we also happen to have ES. ES is also trying to push higher. It's still fighting at 56.60. Our next target is actually 56.80, which I think we could potentially go to on ES. So it still looks a little bit more bullish. But we'll see if we could hold above this support. We're looking at 56.50 support. If we lose that, we're dipping back down to 56.30, then the 5600 flat area. So we look more bullish on ES, especially on the 4-hour time frame. It looks like it wants to push higher, which could push SPY. But just notes that resistance is going to be tough the closer we get to 5680 than 5700. But I still see potential for it to go a little higher. Looking at, let me just double check this, NQ. NQ looks a little bit more bullish. We could try to get a little closer to 20,000, but we are possibly establishing a lower high. We came just under 20,000 so far, so we'll see if we can reclaim that or not. And we're looking at support at 19,400, not to mention other supports like the 19,000 flat area. So be very mindful of that. We're kind of stuck between support and resistance. We'll have to see if we could break 20,000 or not. We may attempt to push a little higher, but if we don't claim 20,000, there could be rejection. So you want to be careful with that. QQQ is looking a little bit weaker than SPY in the after hours. We're not breaking 485. We have like a lower high potentially being established. That could lead to a dip back down towards 475 if we don't hold above 480. So look at 480's resistance. Below that, we have 478 and 475. And resistance is going to be at 482. We'll see if we establish a lower high. This is a high here, could come down, make a lower high, and continue lower. So I do see a risk of the QQQ dipping. So you want to be very mindful of that. For Aapl, we're consolidating. We do look a little bit more bullish. We're looking at 227 and 228 as resistance levels, and then 227 is going to be another level worth watching for. We have 226 as support, then 223.8. As of right now, we're consolidating in a range, and Apple's still range bound. We'll see which way it breaks. Do we break 228 and turn bullish, or are we just going to stay range bound? I'll watch that. For a few more, if you look at the Russell, still looking bullish. We're at 222. This is the next resistance. If we break this, we're looking for 224. So 222 to 224 is going to be a tough area where we have a lot of chop. We could go a little higher, but then we might start to see some consolidation in that range because it is known for consolidating between those levels. So we'll see if we hold above 220. If we hold above that, we could consolidate. If we lose that, we might be looking for a dip down to 217. For Coinbase, Coinbase is it pushed a little bit towards 213. Now it's dipping. We could see this technically try to push higher for 216 if we break this high at 212. So look at 212 as resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for 216. If we don't break that, we could be looking for a retest of 206. So we'll see which way it breaks, if we can reclaim 212 or not. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to remain in a range. Amazon is stuck within a range. We have a possible head and shoulders neck structure, so I'm seeing some weakness building. If we lose our 50 EMA at 175, there's going to be a risk of 172. If we break past 177, we could be looking for a push. Just be careful. We're barely holding support at 175 on Amazon. Meta is also showing not as much strength. We have kind of like a bearish divergence double top. If we lose 522, there's going to be a risk of us dipping lower towards 516. We have resistance at 530. If we break that, we could try to bounce. So we're kind of stuck in this range. We'll see which way we break for confirmation. For Microsoft, we have kind of like a bearish divergence as well. We need to break 418 to turn back up. Otherwise, if we don't break that, we're at risk of tipping to about 414 and potentially all the way down here towards 408. So be careful, guys. There's a little bit of weakness. We did push a bit, like I was talking about yesterday, only to kind of dip. So be mindful of that. Google's the same thing. We're still in this channel. We'll see if we get a break from this or not, or if we reject and start tipping back down. We'll see how well Google responds here. Can we break past 168 or not? We're at resistance, so give it the time it needs, and we'll see how things go. Remember, guys, this 4-hour bar has not closed yet, so we're not officially breaking resistance unless we see a close above that. That could be a good sign, so be patient. As far as Tesla goes, watch resistance, guys. Tesla is below 220. We'll see if we can hold above that or not. If we can't, we might return back down to this trend line at 217. And we might see Tesla kind of consolidate a bit today. So just be very mindful of that. I want to give you guys a heads up. With that being said, I thank you for listening. Please have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one in just a couple of hours. Thank you for listening, and peace out.